Welcome to Afternoon Tea with Caden Alexander. I'm Caden Alexander, and today we have two treats. We are going to have the Sakura Sable cookie and the Kinako Mochi, which just split in two. I might not eat that piece just because I do not trust this table. But unfortunately, these two items did get a bit smooshed in the delivery process. Yeah. And I do have things to talk about, for once. I was thinking about it in the shower this morning. Let's try the Kinako Mochi first, shall we? Oh my gosh. That's like melt in your mouth. You heard the crunch, but like if I just didn't bite, it literally would have melted in my mouth. That's very good. It's not really sweet. You can definitely taste the soy powder that's coating the mochi. Has a very fluffy texture. It's like crunchy and fluffy at the same time, if that makes sense. And melty. A bunch of different textures in there. That's really good. I'm glad there's two of these, since half of it broke. You can definitely, the roasted soy flour definitely adds a nice flavor to it. That's good. I might have to buy more of those. So, today's discussion, ooh, that went down the wrong pipe, hold on. Alright, sorry about that. So, today, I'm going to talk about hobbies and such. Favorites and what have you. It's funny, when I was thinking about all this, I remembered a game that my best friend and I used to play when we were younger. Back when talking on the phone was cool and hip, and also not incredibly anxiety-inducing. We would play this game called Fave and Hate, where we would pick different categories, like movie or song or color, etc. And we would write down both our favorites and least favorites, and then also try to guess the other person's. And for every one we got right, we would give each other a point, and pretty much like a who knows each other better situation. And we would play that a lot. So, I just thought that was a fun little thing to remember. I haven't talked to them in a long while, and I hope she's doing well. But yeah, so let's see. I can start with some favorites. My favorite band is the Rasmus. Currently, my favorite genre of music to listen to would be, I'd say, Finnish alternative. And I've been listening to a lot of dance music lately because it helps me focus on art. But I really like all genres except English-speaking rap, for the most part anyway, and most country. But yeah, so, think. My favorite shows are currently The Owl House, which is beautiful. Please watch it if you haven't. Steven Universe is another one. I've been binging a lot of cartoons recently. I've always been a huge fan of animation. There's only one, excuse me, one live action show that isn't a reality show that I've watched in the past like decade and like thoroughly enjoyed, and that would be Andy Mack. Beautiful show. Go watch it if you can. Sorry. Dry throat. And I used to watch This Is Us. However, I am very weak emotionally when it comes to things. So anything that I know will make me cry, I try to avoid. Especially, I have this very strange thing. And maybe if anyone who's watching who's like a psychiatrist or something can help me pinpoint why I have this weird trigger, but pretty much any time I am eating. If I am eating and watching TV and anything with music comes on, be it a singing or dancing show, like The Voice or So You Think You Can Dance, is that even on anymore? And you know what I mean though. Or like even a jingle in a commercial or like a kids show musical number. I will start bawling my eyes out for no reason other than, oh, music, I'm eating, time to cry. So, that's been happening for a long while. So between that and just anything like very emotional will get me right in the gut. So I just try not to watch anything unless I know I am in the right frame to cry. And also, I've never really been good at like live action stuff because trying to think how to word this. For one, I'm bad at sorry, I can't really speak today, but I'm bad at anything that is inflicting pain. Like live action stuff I'm really bad with. Horror films I am terrible with. Anything that even hints at blood or gore, I can't handle it. I can barely handle it in animation, but I can handle it better in animation, probably also because I grew up with a lot of anime and stuff that I probably shouldn't have seen. Imagine a 12-year-old watching Elfen Lied, and you will understand. It's bad. But let me take a bite of this cookie so I can try and regain my thoughts. Just broke off a tiny piece. Can really taste the Sakura in that. Ooh, that's good. It tastes pretty much like a sugar cookie. However, it has this very rich Sakura flavor. That's really good. Take a little bigger bite. Oh, I don't know if you can see inside that, but it's like Sakura batter inside the sugar cookie. Ooh, that's good. But, anywho. Not so much anymore, but I used to be a huge wrestling fan. And then, again, for similar reason, people beating each other up, even if it's fake, even if it's choreographed, doesn't sit in my head very well. Not my cup of tea anymore. But anyone who knew me back in like elementary school would know that I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And I was obsessed with John Cena. I had his album. I had cut out pictures of him from WWE magazines and like glued them to my folders and binders. Yeah, I was that kid. But let's see. What else can I say? What else do I like? That's a loaded question. I feel like my interests change very quickly. I'm not much into video games, but I've always, always been a Pokemon fan. Old school platformers like Spyro. I just played the Spyro Reignited Trilogy a few months ago. Yoshi's Island, classic. I used to be very big into MMOs like Toontown. If my computer could handle it, I would probably play other things right now. Not really big into like fighting games. But like silly things like Wizard 101 or doesn't exist anymore, but Fantage was fun. I would do this thing where if I was in a bad headspace, I would just go onto any virtual world and dissociate for a bit. So Fantage I actually found in 2016, I think, give or take, just a couple years before it closed. But it was a lot of fun. I would just walk around and customize. I'd play the fashion show things a lot. I think I actually bought like a year subscription of it just because I wanted to feel something. But yeah. What else? Someone's mowing their lawn. Travel. I love to travel. I haven't really been able to. You can imagine why. But back when I lived in Jersey/PA in that little tri-state area, I would go to New York once a month for karaoke and then just make some travel days out of it. I would go to concerts. Went to Philly for a few concerts. And then my fiance and I impulse bought some Pittsburgh concert tickets, not realizing that it was very far away. I believe we took an 8-hour bus to get there. But it was a fun time. It was really interesting and fun. But I miss travel, even just going to a brand new store. Like somewhere I've never been before. As simple as a new grocery store or a new park or a new anything. Really fun for me. Then, because I am the youngest of 3 by 8 years, I would often do things alone because they would be too old for certain things, mainly for certain rides, because I'd have to go on the kiddie rides at amusement parks and stuff. But I was used to pretty much doing things on my own, probably why I handled Japan so well, because like it was the alone in a crowded room feeling, in most cases, is great for me. Like, I love it. I went to Hanayashiki in Tokyo. It's the first, I believe it's the first amusement park that ever opened in Japan, and it's still running. And it's beautiful. Very small, but a lot of fun, a lot of cool rides. And it was very fun to just explore that on my own. But yeah, so I love to travel. I miss doing that. I am a planner when it comes to traveling. You can ask my fiance, I'll have like pages of itinerary. One of the last times we went to New York together, I set up a surprise treat day and I took things that I think he would like, packed them all in the same day, including some of his favorite foods, some exhibits I think he would like, a musical. I believe we went to see Avenue Q. That was so funny. But anywho, but yeah, I made a huge day of it, planned everything out, and as I might have mentioned earlier too, when I went to Japan, I had like a 27-page itinerary mapped out by the hour. It's really fun for me. Like when I can't just go explore something without making a plan of it, because I feel like I'll miss out on something, you know? But yeah, really can't think of anything else to say. As I have said in previous videos, I do draw. I have my own Sonic OCs. I have a few original concepts, but I don't have the creative energy and motivation to actually go through with any of them. But most of them I came up with in like high school. There are two that stuck with me that I would go into if I just had a little more brain juice, but I don't. The one was Out of Element, which was it was a fantasy thing about these fairies. They were fairies at first, and I changed the name. All of them were born into a different element. Fire, water, earth, light, dark, wind. And, but some of them would say they were born into dark fairies, but they're a light fairy. Or they look exactly like a fire fairy, but they're a water fairy, and were born into water fairies. So I had that idea, and the story was essentially centered around these 6 out of elements who were trying to go on an adventure. One of them, who was an earth fairy who looked like a wind fairy, they saw out of their window one day smoke on a mountain, like a very ominous shadow, and wanted to explore that. So they run away from their little development with the help of a few friends and go try to find out the secret behind that ominous shadow. But another one that I gave up on solely because it ended up being one that A, I needed a lot more research to, and B, seemed more like an adult novel than a fantasy or young adult. But I came up with this in high school. Sorry, kids are playing hide and seek or tag or something. But anywho, so it's called Out of Element. And it was about these 2 kids, well, college kids, I should say. One had everything going for her. Was the head of her soccer team, valedictorian at her school, was about to get married, all that good stuff. And then the other was someone who recently ran away from home, was part of a band, kind of troubled past, but the two of them collide almost literally, actually quite literally, car accident, and one of them goes into a coma, and then her soul goes into the other one's body. And so it is pretty much a novel where she has to try and put her own soul to rest, or get it back into her body somehow while in the body of the person who crashed into her. It's heavy. But I just never could get into it. But anywho, I'm pretty sure this video is really long by now, so I'm just gonna stop. But thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, if you want me to elaborate on anything, if you like any of the things I just mentioned, by all means, strike up a conversation, let me know. I really like this cookie. Well, I hope y'all have a great one, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.